Hi everybody, I'm Jeff with Virginia Paranormal Investigations, and today we're up here in Delaware, and we're driving down the road and we noticed this really old abandoned looking structure on the side of the road, and we decided to make a stop, see if we can wander back here and just investigate, explore it if you will, and see what it is. We'll keep you posted. Yeah, they got thorns on them, huh?
Yeah, they do.
Not sure what it is exactly. It looks like it's got some spray paint on it and stuff. Hopefully there's no gangs or cults back here. Or ghosts. And it doesn't look incredibly old. What's your take?
I don't know, this obviously was not a house. It's not large enough to be a house.
It's not incredibly old either, like I said. Looks kind of like a cross on the wall there.
Yeah, it certainly does.
This would definitely be a place for some kind of cult activity. You know what I mean? Probably wouldn't want to come out here at night.
Yeah, very well could be.
But if we go over here a little further, right? This brickwork is obviously newer stuff, but when we get to here, we got the old rocks. And see, this looks like it used to be the structure to another section of building, because the rocks go around out here. And continue on over this way, which looks like there could potentially be another structure over there covered in the vines. We found some pavement here. And look, yeah, sure enough, there's another wall going up here. And I can see it goes back there, all overgrown with vines. I think I'm gonna venture back in here a little bit off the cement and see, because it looks like there's more back here even. Oh yeah, see, now look at this. Now we're getting into some old stuff back here. This is definitely a much older structure than the one up in front. We got a charred beam of some sort on the ground here, so it looks like there was at some time a fire. There's the corner, and then we go back in here. It looks like it was at one time indeed an old house. There would be the doorway, obviously. And if we look up here, you can see there's an old log, like they might have used for a beam, for a support beam, and it's very charred. So there was definitely a fire back here at some point. And it's amazing how these vines are just growing up, you know, and it's almost like if you're driving by or walking by, you wouldn't even see this place. Nature just came back completely and has almost entirely reclaimed this old structure. And over here we can see another charred beam in the rock. There's where the old fireplace was. I'm gonna venture around here out the doorway, see if we can kind of take a look from the outside. If we can get any idea of what it may have looked like at one time. Here we are, as I said, like the vines have almost completely reclaimed this old structure. I'm going to wander now back over to the pavement that's up here and see if we can get any idea of what this other structure may have been. What do you see back there?
It's a lot of stone back here as well. A lot of stone now. Yeah, I can tell it was some kind of structure.
Oh yeah, look at this.
Yeah. Huge amount back here.
Huh?
Ow, a lot back here. A lot of thorns too.
It looks like maybe there was a couple houses here, or a house and a couple outbuildings maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing.
Now the other one I was in saw it had a place for a fireplace in it and such.
There's an old door here. See the hinges still on it?
Oh yeah, let me come around there. Okay. Oh yeah, look at that. What do you think with this? Maybe 1700s, that far back possibly?
It could be. It could very well be. I'm kind of amazed at how this wall like curves around like this.
That is interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's obvious that it wasn't, I mean, it couldn't have been just a barn. I don't think anybody would have taken the time to set the stone in such a beautiful curve like that if it was just a barn. Here's something that's going to date the structures here. This is an old junction box.
Right. Though it could have been added always much later.
Could have been. So there's, yeah, the structure itself could be much older, but we know at least that, it did have electricity at some point.
Same with the grout, correct, in between these stones?
Oh, yeah, the mortar.
Yeah, that could also give us a little bit of a clue as to how old it might be. I'm gonna go exploring out behind it here a little bit. We got an old fence here. Probably from its days as a farm. Because as we know, this was all farmland up here in this area. And now there's been walking trails placed through it, and golf course across the street. We got another old structure up here that looks like it collapsed at some point. Looks like it also fell victim to fire at some point. I don't know if that was potentially after it was already in shambles, or if that was before. That's what caused it to fall. I don't know. Nonetheless, possibly an old chicken coop. Now going back over from the old chicken coop, we'll call it, we're back here to this one structure that we have not really checked out yet. And this is across from that one that had the curved stonework and the old hinge was still on there. I just find it amazing how these vines, like I said, just grow up over everything. And you know, if you're not looking for these places, you're not going to see them. It's so easy to just drive right past them or walk right past them and just think it's all a natural part of nature. We got some old bed springs there. But this section here is kind of built into the ground, it would seem. And this would lead me to believe that this was the barn. Because if you see up here, the ground comes right up to the side of the wall. So there was probably an upper level with a ramp, perhaps. Maybe that some of the animals would go up to, and then this was maybe the basement of the barn. It's somewhat underground. At least it's not completely, because around the back it's level, but in the front they built up the ground almost like I said, like they would have, if you've ever seen those ramps to those barns.
Yeah, yeah. This would have been quite a large barn, if that was the case. I did see some charred posts.
I did see the charred posts, and I even pointed them out. The one structure I went in, you could see the old log beams up in the wall, and they were charred around the end of them.
Yeah. Well, you know, the separate structure that sits a little closer, that was a little smaller, you know, it didn't look like it could have been, it was linked it by any foundation or any stonework, but there were also charred posts there as well.
Right.
So something burned and burned real good through here at one time. And that would also kind of explain the overgrowth of the vines. Seems like whenever something burns like this, it kind of promotes growth of nature.
So we're going out to the back of this structure that I'm not incredibly sure what it would have been. Now look at this. It does look like it is, if I can get through the thorns here. It actually, coming out of it from this way, kind of shows that this is attached to it. See, there's that little wall that we just crossed over.
Right.
And there's the two pillars, the one that is curved. So perhaps...
So look at this. See that little round stone?
Yeah.
With a metal rod sticking out of it? What do you suppose that would have been?
That's a good question.
It's obviously placed there on purpose.
I'm not entirely sure about that.
Huh.
Okay, so my take on it is that this is probably the entrance way or such. Because if you see, you can come up here, and then that pillar right there is attached to that little cement wall, which is the back border for that structure that we were just inside. So I imagine you would come in here, and then there's a little area where you can go left into that structure, or over to the right, it's attached to this structure. So you can kind of piece it together in your mind, and I'm sure everyone will come up with something slightly different, but that can give you a little bit of perspective of kind of the layout, if you will, of this place. All right, well, we're going to venture out to this little, we'll call it the driveway area. There's one more structure up here. I can still see some remains of an old road or driveway that would have connected all of these. And this place looks perhaps like a basement.
Yeah, it's definitely basement. Let's see what.
Over here looks like it perhaps may have been at one time a way in. And once again, we have some more charred beams down there. More evidence of a fire.
See, I find that really strange because there's obviously nothing that connects this place over to that one. So either the charred beams are being carried by humans from one location to this one, or everything burned for some reason here. All of the structures, which leads me to believe maybe somebody set the fire.
It's also worth considering that who knows how long these places have been abandoned for. Kids, whatnot, may have came back here well after these places were abandoned and set the fire. We don't know for sure that that was the reason, but I'd love to see if we could find any kind of property records or any information about this, you know. And another way that we could also possibly get some answers is maybe one day come back here and do an EVP session. Maybe we could get some stuff through that. That'd be cool. I'm gonna venture around to the front of it here and just take one look, and then we'll debrief. This says something on it. Water, something water. Yeah, they don't make houses like that anymore, that's for sure. And this is the old structure, the first one that we went in from the path. The one that we said looks like a much newer structure. Okay, so we're walking away from the structure now, back through the field, and I have to say that was quite a find. You know, it wasn't like a typical old abandoned house that's still standing. I mean, this one was very old. You could tell by the old rocks that they used in building the house. They just don't make houses like that anymore, and you know, at least a couple hundred years probably after it was built, these foundations are still standing strong. You know, even though some of the walls have fallen and the beams have been charred. And to think that somebody at one time lived here. Now it's just sitting there in the middle of the woods, forgotten, overgrown, as I said earlier, reclaimed by nature. And there's nothing but an echo of the lives that were once lived there. Now, I personally would like to come back and conduct an EVP session at some point, so that maybe through that we could get some answers. If we could pick up some disembodied voices or something like that.
Right.
I'm not saying this place is haunted, but in any place that was someone's home at one time, where life happened, there could still be energy left behind. There could still be something there. You never know. And with places like that, you don't know until you actually investigate. Maybe just no one's ever came out here and had any experiences with ghosts or anything like that.
Yeah.
But that's not to say they're not there. It's not to say they are there. But I think it would be worth investigating, because at a place like this, where you can't get a lot of answers, it may have been a little farm. There may not be a lot of land records on it. Maybe we can get some answers from the other side.
Right.
What's your take?
I agree with you 100%. It's just amazing that all this sits way back here in the wood line. It just was a chance, just that I happened to see the roof of the structure as we passed last night in the middle of the night. But it does look like it was quite an extensive homestead at one time. So, and you can tell by the structure and by the way that it was built that this was a very well-built home. And it's just amazing that these pieces of it are still sitting back here, but then the rest of it is just gone forever.
Right. And we will definitely be back here again. Hopefully it's before they clear the land. I don't imagine they're probably gonna do that. I believe this is all a park. So, but I'd love to explore it further.